Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Folks, I've had an epiphany. I've noticed rather a significant downward trend in my viewership of late, and I think I've narrowed down the source of the issue. For one thing, the videos are far too long. The world is rife with competition for your attention and your time, and new YouTube channels are the proverbial last dog at the bowl. Furthermore, they're getting away from what it was I actually liked about doing reviews in the first place, which is writing. And while it was initially my intention to make more of a rambling podcast affair, I may have overdone it. Fun as it might be for me to ramble and pontificate about movies for an hour or so, it's not all that much fun to watch. So I'm revamping the formula here. From here on out, I'm going to be unapologetically scripting the videos and reading off of a list of set remarks that I made beforehand. Today's beverage, just Guinness for today. It's hot out, and cold beer gives the same sweet end to a Friday night as Suicide Watch did to Jeffrey Epstein. Joining my pint today is a delicious Soli Deo Gloria cigar here, or what's left of it, which features heavy notes of pine, earth, pepper, and a little bit of French roast coffee. Today's video game that we're going to be playing in the background is a bit of Risk of Rain 2, one of my favorite. Again, still confused about that roguelike versus roguelite thing. But it's a good little third-person shooter. A lot of fun, a lot of variance in how each run goes, and I'll have that playing in the background so you have a little something to look at. Anyway, folks, history has told us never to do exactly four things. The first, never drive a Boston Democrat through Dallas in a top-down convertible. Don't ask China about Tiananmen Square. Don't ask a European what they think about gypsies. And finally, don't make video game tie-in movies. It is the universal truth. They all suck. And they all seem like an easy sell on the surface. John Q. Producer says, hey, this game squeezed enough money out of the buying public to make my wife bring the kids back. So, if we make a movie based on the same source material, it too will be a grand success. And that's the philosophy. But then something fucks up, or perhaps more to the point, everything fucks up. And the characters are always styrofoam impersonations of the ones that actually made the franchise interesting in the first place. The pacing can't reconcile the divide between dozens of potential hours of gameplay and a meager 2 hours of screen time. And the source material, whose main storyline was originally intended to be told largely via gameplay, is hacked into bite-sized portions until the act of even connecting it to the original franchise becomes little more than a useless cash grab meant to play on nostalgia. So, the discussion I have for you tonight is an examination of two sides of the same coin. A quintessential example of everything wrong with video game tie-in movies on one side, and a glimmer of hope for a possible path that these movies can take to a relative form of success on the other. with the former, we're going to start with Uncharted, which was sort of an Indiana Jones adjacent uh, video game series for several years on the PlayStation prior to the release of an accompanying film in 2022. Now, I was more of an Xbox kid myself, so I haven't played all the games, but what I have seen isn't bad. Um, the games are a swashbuckling and adventurous affair with a protagonist so smug that his teeth practically kick themselves in. But he has some complexity to him. He's an asshole, but he can be endearing as he's dragged unwillingly on the coattails of larger conspiracies he kind of stumbles on by accident. The Uncharted movie, on the other hand, misses all of this. It stars Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, and my distaste for the latter has been established as fact by now. And to my mind, he's basically the male equivalent of Sandra Bullock, as his generally mediocre acting performances have yet to carve out an indispensable niche in the film industry. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Mark Wahlberg is Matt Damon for studios that can't afford Matt Damon. Tom Holland, on the other hand, is actually pretty good as actors go. I give fewer shits than an elected official in a homeless shelter for the Spider-Man movies, but I actually liked that little Devil All the Time film he did. It's a little Netflix original you should go check out. And he's showing some real promise as a rising star in that realm of kind of gritty action protagonist. I'm kind of hoping he pulls a Robert Pattinson and sort of turns away from the mainstream spotlight after he's gotten his start, and more does the side stuff that I like so much. Or he can spend the rest of his life cashing Disney checks, which is respectable as careers go. Well, not respectable, but understandable. Anyway, that being said, both of these actors are woefully miscast in this movie. The main character in the games is named Nathan Drake, and he's meant to be sort of a tired, grizzled, washed-up con with too much ambition for his own good. And Tom Holland, conversely, looks like he walked on set straight from a high school classroom, like his balls haven't dropped past his fucking sternum. And the rest is just a complete mess from start to finish. The dialogue is incoherent. The overt stupidity of the villain actually defies imagining. And the pacing is fucked beyond even the stiffest dose of Plan B. So, in summary, 3 out of 10. Don't watch it in close proximity to small children or pets, lest you take your accrued anger out on them. Or better yet, just don't watch it at all, because it sucks. Now, on to the Mario movie. Now, I admit the moderate bias I have coming into this one, because I've been playing Nintendo games my whole life, and I have no intention of stopping. Yet, like I said, great franchises are seldom immune to the principle that video game tie-in movies just don't work. And so my review will be as stark and unfaltering in its focus as all my other ones. Perhaps this image you see of me now smoking and drinking rather poetically illustrates that this movie wasn't exactly made for me. I have pairs of pants that I've owned longer than most of the target audience for this movie has been alive. But you know, in my book, if Pixar movies are capable of kicking all the ass that they do, then nothing is off limits in terms of legitimate criticism. The Mario movie, getting started with this part of the review here, the Mario movie occupies a strange space in a narrative sense where it had to kind of conjure individual characterization out of thin air. Most of the characters, Mario especially, doesn't actually have all that much characterization, despite the dizzying pile of games with his namesake on them. He's pretty much there to just make questionably racist impressions of what a Japanese game company thinks an Italian guy sounds like. And so the focus is the flashy, joyous world around him. That's what's really important. Mario is simply a means by which you, the player, are able to explore that space. And, pure spectacle like that is something that movies are capable of excelling in, if you really think about it. Um, as a matter of fact, that might be one of the very few genuine advantages that the film industry can claim over its video game counterparts. Um, is a pure spectacle with an iron grip on the pacing. And this these elements of the Mario movie actually work quite well. The film is packed to the brim with tiny references and Easter eggs for those that have actually played the games, and features a bright and colorful world that never stops being interesting to look at. Um, and plus, the casting. Jack Black as Bowser. Somebody give that casting director a well-deserved blowjob, because I'm telling you, Black's presence in this movie is kind of the main reason to watch it at all. And everybody was shitting on Chris Pratt too before the movie came out, but you know what? His voice, or a lack of voice, as some might term it, wasn't as distracting as I thought it was going to be. I think it all sort of starts to come apart in the pacing. I'd say that's the biggest flaw this movie bears. Because holy shit, this one moved fast. I think it was kind of hoping nobody would have time enough to focus on its flimsy plot, um, which is an admirable strategy in theory, but I think the writers would have been able to do a lot more with some extra room to breathe. So, in summary for this one, 6.75 out of 10. It's not quite there yet, but I got a glimpse of something beautiful that I'm thinking, if it could be expanded upon in future installments, we really might have the first actually good video game tie-in movie. So, there you have it. That's the review. Um, Let me know what you think. If you prefer this new format, or if you'd like to go back to the old one. I'm kind of doubting that, because I'm picking up what you're putting down, folks. I think you want shorter, more concise. So, there you have it. Let me know in the comments, or just come talk to me. I'm around. And otherwise, have an excellent evening. Later.